This is the Dery Brothers Tribecast, a podcast for diehard Cleveland Indians fans. Presented to you by waitingfornextyear.com. Now, here are the hosts, Matt and Todd Dery.
All right, everybody, let's do this. It is another edition of the Dery Brothers Tribecast, talking Cleveland Indians baseball with you, Matt and Todd Dery. After what was a disgusting display of baseball this weekend in Kansas City, swept by the Royals, who had lost 10 straight games before the Indians arrived in town to the K in Kansas City on Friday. Carrasco implodes, Kluber implodes today, and all of a sudden the Indians find themselves at 8-7 after a pretty decent start. A lot to discuss today, Todd, including the loss of Mike Clevenger, what's going on with the pitching, a very head-scratching decision by the front office today after the game. We'll tell you what that decision was. The impending return of Francisco Lindor, Jose Ramirez. So much to discuss, Todd, but we got to start with today. That was ugly today. That was not a lot of fun.
Losing 3 in a row to Richard Christie's Kansas City Royals, who came in losing 10 games in a row, it's as bad as it gets. At least today they showed some fight. My biggest beef, actually, of the weekend is Saturday night when you get 2 hits shutout by Homer Bailey and Ian Kennedy. That is rock bottom offensively. It doesn't get worse than that. Homer Bailey is trash.
Well, you forgot about Willie Peralta as well.
I know it makes my story sound better because Homer Bailey and Ian Kennedy were good like 10 years ago, and they weren't even that good.
Not even.
Ian Kennedy was got that contract from the Royals, and I believe this is year 4. He's so lame that they moved him to the bullpen, but he made his bones being in San Diego. But anyways, the offense was terrible. The starting pitching was terrible all weekend. It's amazing how you can go from the beginning of the week, Monday to Wednesday, and completely have a different view of how things are because of what we saw Friday to Sunday.
Look, let's get down here for a second, okay? I'm not going to get all mad and angry. I saw your tweet. Dery speaks. That's me on Twitter. He's livid. Here's my thing. And you and I have talked about it before, and we're brought to you by waitingfornextyear.com, of course, and our friends at Groove Ride. But let's talk about it. They're 15 games in. They're 8-7. I said if they can stay 500 by May 1st, it would be a victory. Based on this lineup is so incomplete, without Kipnis, without Cargo, who's finally here, without Lindor. You're basically playing without Jose Ramirez because he's completely jumpy at the plate and lost, albeit the last couple of nights his at-bats have been better, and he's staying back a little bit and waiting for the fastball instead of jumping out of his cleats, and the ball's everything's a pop-up. So I just figured the best they're going to do is stay 500, get through April, and we'll see where it is. If I would have told you at the start of the year that Corey Kluber, three of his first 4 outings, he'd get clobbered. Jose Ramirez is hitting like $140. You would have told me how many games under 500 are they? And they still are sitting above 500 as they head to Seattle for 3 with the Mariners. So there's a part of me, Todd, that can't get that mad because I didn't have high expectations for April until this team got whole and got correct. And this front office needs to make some more moves. They're not done. And, this weekend, it sucked. It was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I'll give you that. I mean, it was brutal.
Here's the thing. I agree with you, and I would take 8-7, and you and I were both on the same page with that. Let's just get our guys healthy, hang around 500, and thank God for the AL Central, as we say. But you just lost 3 in a row to a team that lost 10 games in a row, and it's not like they threw out there, Andy Pettit and Roger Clemens and whoever, right? I mean, they threw Brad Keller, Homer Bailey, and Jacob Junis. Okay, that's terrible.
Right. They were a 2-10 baseball team.
A 2-10 baseball team. Not to mention, you have your opening day starter, who we've been hearing from the front office all winter about how he's fine, no problem. The guy's a total mess. He is. He looked great on opening day, but it was also 10 degrees out there. And he made one mistake, and that was it. But I'll tell you, he was this is a guy, Corey Kluber, who made his bones just as a strike-throwing machine and just, fool the thinking man's pitcher, fooling everybody. He walked 6 guys today. 6. It's his career high. And 4 of them came in 1 inning. Do you know how – I'm sorry, he walked 5 guys, 4 in 1 inning. Would you like to know how many guys Cousin Jeffrey from the Parks Department, Rodriguez, walked last Saturday night?
I think it was 1.
That'd be 0.
Oh, 0.
As many guys as you and I did.
I like Jeffrey Rodriguez. Let's go.
Yeah. But so in the meantime, you can only play who's in – I said this after the Indians took 2 of 3 from the Tigers and swept Toronto. You can only play who's on your schedule. And I'm not going to apologize for taking 2 of 3 from that bad Tigers team. But you can't lose 3 games to the Royals. That team is awful. Lucas Duda, I mean, come on.
Kills us, and has killed us for the last couple of years. Duda and that O'Hearn kid
killed us last year at the end of the year, too.
Terrorize Indians pitching and have. And like you mentioned today, Kluber goes 2 2/3, 6 hits, 6 runs, 6 earned, 5 walks, 4 strikeouts, and he gave up 2 home runs. And look, home plate umpire Manny Gonzalez. Manny, I mean, he was awful. All right, he was awful. And so the strike zone was definitely small. But when your sinker's not sinking and it's only 91, 92, and you're not rushing it up there at 94, 95 like Kluber used to, and the sinker's not sinking, it's a pretty straight fastball that doesn't have a lot of velocity on it. And that's...
His fastball's the real problem right now. That's what's scary.
Oh, yeah, and an ERA of 6. Like I said, you got Jose Ramirez, and batting averages and everything, but an OPS of 373 is absolutely awful. And Kluber's ERA is 6.16. That's not going to get it done. So those guys have got to right themselves, and you have to figure with their track records that they will. But what bugged me about this weekend was not only just losing to this bad Kansas City team, but how they lost. Rodriguez is pitching his balls off Saturday night. They can't scratch across a couple of hits. Like you said, the approach against Homer Bailey was brutal. Friday, Carrasco had nothing. That's the second time he's had absolutely nothing. And then today, you scratch and claw back. You tie the game at 8, and then Greg Allen is into pinch run, makes the last out at third base in front of a Gold Glove left fielder and Alex Gordon. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Where are you going?
I thought you weren't upset.
But yeah, I guess I'm not. But you know what the bottom line is, Todd. And I like this team. I still think this team has a chance. And as long as you have the starting pitching that we have, and I know Clevenger's going to be out, and hopefully Rodriguez is a guy that can fill in, and he's got good stuff. And I told you weeks ago on this show, he has very good.
You've been a fan of his from day one. I will give you that.
Very good velocity. He had good velocity in Washington, and he may end up in the bullpen one day. But with that being said, there's too many guys that are 4A that are playing, and Greg Allen, God bless him, is probably 4A. More often, Stamets aren't good. This Naquin love affair, and I know he's hitting 268, but, can he hit the ball over the wall once in a while? The other night he hit a solo down 6-0. That was a Peralta shot. So
that was a good. I was going to say it was a Peralta shot for people who are between 25 and 35, and for people like me and you, that was a Brooke Jacoby special right there.
No, it was, but it just, I'm not going to get mad. I'm not. I'm going to try to stay even keeled here. They are above 500. I'm not celebrating anything like that, but I'm just pointing out that hopefully now Kipnis coming back tomorrow. Cargo played today, and it looked a little rusty, but hey, leg down at infield single, made a nice play in left field, whatever. It's still better that he's in the lineup in that 3 spot in front of Santana than the cavalcade of guys that they've trotted out there. But that's just what's been disappointing. And you're right. Today they didn't pitch, and they hit, and then it came back to bite them, whereas there's been some days where, heck, if this team would have put up 8 runs in a game, we would have won the game based on the starting pitching, which I still think is very, very good. And now you got to hope that Bauer and Bieber go out to Seattle and do their thing.
Last night, I'm watching the game, and it's 2-0, and they're getting no base runners, and they finally get a base runner or two, and I believe it was first and second with one out, and up stepped your number 3 hitter, Tyler Naquin, who promptly grounded into an inning-ending double play. And I promised myself, I've said it on this podcast, I've said it on Twitter, I've told you, told our show producer, Jeremy, that I was not going to complain about the lineup, but that's what you get when you bat Tyler Naquin third. I mean, I'm sorry. That's the best you got for the 3-hole. That's what's going to happen. Now Carr goes up, so at least that's not that big of a deal. But Naquin was there protecting Carlos, and again, he's fine for now. But that's not if Tyler Naquin's your 5-hole hitter, that is a real problem. It's a real problem that cannot go on for the rest of the season. And and getting back to Greg Allen, the single that tied the game by Jake Bauers was great. Bauers has been scuffling. He had 2 hits today. Bases loaded, went the other way. For those who didn't see it, went the other way. Put it into left. Alex Gordon's in. Comes up with the ball. Allen was pinch running for Hanley Ramirez, who had gotten a pinch hit. Bases loaded walk, and Allen tries to get first to third on a single to left against Alex Gordon as the Gold Glover. That play's right in front of you. I'm sorry. I'm trying to defend Greg Allen at all costs. I love the guy. I really wanted him to play every day. He's making mistakes like that, and he's hitting .045. And you know what? If he wasn't a switch hitter and he could play center field, my guess is he'd be in AAA now, and Luplo would still be up.
I don't know. But if you're going to be pinch running, you're right. The last thing you have one job to do, and that is not to make an out on the bases, and you do that. And look, again, they tied the game, so there was some momentum.
Third, you learn that in Little League.
Exactly. And you give Roberto a chance to come up and see what he can do. And look, we know our catchers aren't going. The Indians' catchers are probably not going to hit, and many teams' catchers are probably not going to hit. But you keep the inning alive. You don't bail them out. Alex Gordon, that was an easy play, like you said, and it's a mistake like that can cost you a game. And it turned out today, and people are going to say, well, the Tribe bullpen blew it today. No, this game was on Kluber today, first and foremost. He was given a 3-run lead, gave up 4 in the second and 2 more in the third. The bullpen has been fine.
Listen, I won't blame the bullpen on today's game. No way.
No, and Brad Hand did the. Look, today was a bad day for him. Again, and I can't believe Terrence Gore is still on that team. He was pinch running 8 years ago, and they made the World Series.
He was gone. He was on the Cubs for a little bit too.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
But the pen's been fine. Whitgren's been a nice find. Simber's starting to get it together. That's not the issue. The issue is they've got to get Kluber, Carrasco, and Jose Ramirez going. Those guys have got to start doing what they usually do. I mean, Jose, my God. I mean, he had a hit today, thank God, but hitting 140 and just being so jumpy at the plate. Keep your feet where they're supposed to be. Wait on the ball and hit it somewhere. He's like, he's just. And I said this to you on text earlier today. I think Lindor coming back next weekend, which is what we're hearing, which would be great because he's going to be in Louisville tomorrow night with the Columbus Clippers already rehabbing, which is fantastic. But I think Lindor coming back, that's what Jose needs. I think he needs his brother next to him, the guy that pushes him a little bit. I think they have a nice competition going when they're both going, and they're so streaky at times together. And I think Lindor's absence, Todd, tell me what you think, is really hurting Jose.
I think it's a great point. I also think he's putting a ton of pressure on himself, especially coming off of this long, prolonged slump that he had at the end of last year and into the postseason. And without his buddy there, I agree, pushing him, he's putting so much pressure on himself. I think he feels like every at-bat he's really got to come through because in ways – the way the rest of this offense is, there's so much falling on his shoulders right now, and it's not suiting him well. And I think a lot of the times, we're sitting here and we're nitpicking about – it's not even nitpicking. It just is picking on guys like Naquin and, Eric Stamets and Moroff and these other guys. We're picking them mostly because it's obvious. But these guys are what they are. Jose Ramirez is supposed to be a superstar player on this team, and he's not doing what he's doing, so then the other guys have to pick up the slack, and the other guys aren't good enough to pick up the slack. That's the issue. It's the same thing. I was literally just talking to my father-in-law on the phone about this. He was complaining.
Max, how's he doing?
Perez can't hit, okay? And I said to him, I was like, Max, here's the deal. If our lineup was doing what they were supposed to be doing and Roberto hit 200, you wouldn't care because he's so good with the staff. He's not out there to be getting hits. He's out there to be handling the staff and occasionally doing what he can to move runners and get his occasional hit here and there. The problem is he's got to come up with more hits because the other guys aren't doing their job. I love Robo personally. I don't really care what he hits because of what he brings behind the plate. But when the big guys aren't doing it, he's got to come up with some hits here and there.
And one guy that it is. And one guy that actually has been hitting semi-decently is now gone from the team. We're going to tell you about that in a second. Matt and Todd Dery here. It's the waiting for next year's version of the Dery Brothers Tribecast. Thank you for listening today and always when we bring you the week in review and preview what's ahead. The Indians will be in Seattle Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The Mariners hit a home run today again. That's now 18 consecutive games that they've hit a home run, but they got swept this weekend by the Astros. So I never like playing a team at home that is due for wins, but whatever. We'll see what happens. First, though, Todd is here to tell you about our friends at Groove Ride. TD, take it away.
I was at Groove Ride this morning taking a spin class with the great Vicky. It was fantastic. She does an awesome job, great music. I've told you many times, there's 3 locations you can go to, so depending on where you live, there's one downtown, across the street from Perk Park. They got they specialize down there in beatbox, which is fantastic. Groove Flow, which is another great yoga-ish, but almost like cardio yoga in a way. They got that there as well. You go down to the new shops at Van Aken. They got spin. They got resistance bands classes. They got. They're opening up a third room where they're going to be doing Rock the Bells, which is their weight class, which I take sometimes over at my home studio at Woodmere, which is where I do boot camps and spinning as well. It's a great family atmosphere. Come check them out. Groove Ride, GROOVERYDE.com. Zosimo Maximo is the owner with his wife Anjua. They work so hard. They are really, really pro-Cleveland, keeping it local. They're great people. So get out there and support them and tell them I sent you.
All right, there it is, folks. A Groove Ride, GROOVERYDE.com if you want to check them out. Matt and Todd here on the podcast. All right, this organization is infamous for some odd reason sometimes keeping prospects and guys that are on the cusp of the big leagues down in AAA. Here in Detroit, we call that the Ken Holland experiment, where the Red Wings general manager, keeps guys that everybody thinks should be with the Red Wings in Grand Rapids. I digress. Yu Chang is hitting the cover off the baseball in Columbus, and we are forced to watch Max Moroff and Eric Stamets, or as Matt Underwood would call him, Stamets. Matt Underwood today had a really lousy day. I think we can.
He said strike 3 on.
No, he said strike him out, and then he said strike him out, throw him out, double play, and it was only one. It was only one strike. The hell is he talking about? Come on, Matt, wake up. Anyway, I was his intern in 1993 at Channel 5. Do you remember the lineup that I interned for in 1993 at Channel 5?
Bob Stevens.
Correct.
Underwood and Channel 5.
Come on.
I remember you interned for Scott Newell for your senior project in 1991.
That was PM Magazine. I'll tell that story. I went upstairs one day to Channel 8. My senior project was I was an intern on PM Magazine. I think it was Michael Stanley and some blonde. It might have been Doug Deacon's wife.
Connie Deacon. No.
It might have been. Anyway, one day I said, the hell with it, I'm going to try this up. So I go upstairs to the news area, and there's Casey Coleman sitting in his cubicle. And I said, Mr. Coleman, do you have a second? He's like, yeah. I said, my name's Matt Dery. I'm a senior at Orange High School, and I'm doing my senior project downstairs at PM Magazine. But if you ever need any help in sports, Come down and find me. I would love it. And he said, yeah, we don't need any help. And he turned back to his computer. So that was my brush with greatness with the late Casey Coleman. Couldn't have been nicer, or not.
Brush with not so greatness.
Anyway, when
not nearly as good as your in studio with Gary D when you were in like 9th grade.
You came with me.
We'll have to tell that story on another podcast.
I think you came with me, didn't you, or no?
I did. Yes, I did.
When I brought the box of tapes.
Yes. I think he asked you if you were on drugs, if memory serves me.
Correct. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that listen to us that also listen to Trevisano. And, hey, give Mike credit. He's been there for a long time. Nobody holds a candle to Gary D in Cleveland sports, in Cleveland radio talk history. So Gary D is yo mama. But, all right, Channel 5, it was Neb Chandler before he passed away, Bob Stevens, who was there, who worked like 7 days a week, Matt Underwood, and Lisa Burkew.
That's right.
All right. We move on. So, no names, please. All right, so.
Robertson Road's own. There you
go. Shout out to Belgrave. All right, so Pepper Pike represent. All right, anyway, so.
We were talking about the collection of 4A players that we were forced to watch play second.
Moroff, Stamets are in, and the Indians have not formally announced it, although Mandy Bell and others tweeted it out, that Brad Miller, who actually wasn't bad at second base, has been designated for assignment, which means he's out. Kipnis will be in, but Moroff and Stamets stay, at least for the time being. This is beyond stupid. What are they doing?
Can I say one thing? Eric Stamets, I'm sure, is a terrific guy, okay? I am not here to personally attack him in any way.
No, we're rooting for him.
Great story.
Yes.
Grew up an Indians fan. It's wonderful. He's not a Major League Baseball player.
Not even close.
The fact that they are – and again, the fact that I'm here standing for Brad Miller to stay on the roster speaks volumes about how I feel about the Stamets-Moroff duo.
Okay? They're awful. I texted an unnamed Pirates employee yesterday, and I said – you guys,
Huntington, sorry. Go
no,
ahead.
not Neil Huntington. This is an unnamed, right? But I texted an unnamed person that works for the Pirates, and I said, you guys must have been cracking up when you rid yourselves of Luplow and Moroff. And he said, I think Luplow will be decent in a few years. Moroff is filler. Well, we have filler on our roster. Why Brad Miller? To me, it's simple. Brad Miller should have a spot on the roster, and if they have an emergency and need him at shortstop or something, I'm sure he can do it. Max Moroff.
Came up as a shortstop. He played shortstop. I think he played 7. I think I looked it up. In fact, I think I looked it up. I looked it up. He played 6 games at short last year. Okay, this week, if Frankie comes back when they say he is, which is next week, right? So you play Moroff twice, you play Miller twice, or 3 times for one and 2 times for the other, and you deal with it. At least Miller was hitting.
Yeah.
There's not many people above 200 on this team. Miller happens to be one of them. And the fact that he goes and Stamets, who's 2 for 34 on the season, and again, came up today, I think he was either bases loaded or first and third, no one out, grounded into a double play. I mean, he can't hit. He's not a Major League Baseball player.
No, he's not.
And here's the quotes, by the way. They got quotes from Brad Miller on his way out the door. This is what he said. It's a tough trend. They acknowledge that it wasn't fair, but I'm just a player. I go out there and play my hardest and play for the guys next to me. Obviously, they don't want the best guys up here, so I'm just trying to take it somewhere else and see what we've got. Bam!
Oh, boy.
Brad Miller dropping the hammer.
Well, he was mad when the Dodgers got rid of him, too. So
Bradsky. I love it. I love that grit.
3rd highest OPS on the team. Do you realize that? Santana, Martin, and then Brad Miller at 742. 3rd highest OPS on the team.
Saturday, he had only 2 hits.
And you're DFA'ing him to keep Moroff and Stamets. That's embarrassing. That is ridiculous.
We credit this front office quite a bit for a lot of Saturday.
Sure. Yes.
But their in-season roster moves at times over the last 4 or 5 years, i.e. keeping Michael Martinez around for as long as they did, defy logic. They can't sit there and tell me as a season ticket holder that they're putting the best team on the field when Eric Stamets is playing shortstop every single day and Yu Chang is in AAA. Spare me the development piece. They could have brought Chang up here and played him at short, and he'd learn at the major league level. And when Frankie's back, then you return him to AAA. How hard would that have been?
Not hard, and he's a right-handed hitter. Hello.
Instead, I'm stuck watching a guy who's 2 for 34, and one of his 2 hits, if memory serves me correctly, was a single up the middle that went under the glove of the center fielder and turned into a little league home run. So,
well, he actually hit that. He actually hit that ball semi-hard.
Next time I see an Eric Stamets at bat, it should be. I should never see it again. It's just
Here's what we have to.
I'm done with this guy.
Here's what we have to hope for. We have to hope that this turns into 2016 all over again, because at the start of that season, this team was trotting out Colin Cowgill, Juan Uribe, and Marlon Byrd on a regular basis. So and then they realized, well, the Birdman got suspended, Uribe got let go, and Cowgill, I don't know what they did with him. He got DFA'd, but. They've done this before, the DeLucci J-Mike thing. And I know that Antonetti, that was under Shapiro, but still, you're right. You're at a point now, and I get it. It's April. They've played 15 games. They've got 147 left, if my math is correct. And my math score is pretty good for my SAT.
163 minus 147.
162. Right. So
163. Sorry. Yes.
So you're on it. But Brad Miller is right. The guy was turning on fastballs. He was hitting the ball hard. He made decent plays at second, albeit today he dropped the ball on the Gore steal, which wasn't good. But to DFA him is stupid. And if they're worried that he can't play short and that they want Stamets out back there for his glove, I'm sorry. Stamets cost Corey Kluber a run the other day in Detroit with a bad play. So don't give me that.
You know what's interesting? This is if they say, well, Miller couldn't play short. This is the same manager who played Mike Aviles in center field several times and said, oh, yeah, Mikey will do a nice job out there, right? Wasn't that him? Wasn't that Tito in Aviles in center field? Yeah, absolutely it was.
Mikey.
Absolutely.
Hollywood Knights, Mikey.
In left field in the World Series. He had never played out there.
You sound like Tony.
Miller could handle short for 5 games.
You sound like Tony Rizzo from '95. Hollywood Knights, Mikey will be there. Sorry, that was
your birthday party.
Hey, again, no names, please. We're 27 minutes deep. It is the Dery Brothers Tribecast Tribe, a 9-8 loser today. The Royals, Kansas City. I want to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs this past Sunday. How about the Royals sweeping the Indians? Tribe? They had come into the game. I think they had scored 6 runs over their last 6 games or something, and then today exploded for 8 runs, only to see Kansas City. It was a walk fest today. Today was bad. Today had
long game too. Long game.
Yeah, you can thank Manny Gonzalez for that.
Too much about today because this really. The week was looking so much better heading into the weekend when they took 2 of 3 from the Tigers, and you started off that series, and you felt like, all right, we take 2 of 3 from this team, great. Bauer, did his thing. I don't want to be so negative. We're being very negative, and I am driving that bus of negativity. But I want to be a little positive here. One positive that I saw this week. I think the bullpen has really been doing a nice job.
It's been fine.
One guy in particular who I'm really impressed with is Adam Simber. He was lights out today. He's had one outing where he came in, I think, to face one batter and gave up a hit. Other than that, it's been zeros. This was the guy that we traded for last year and expected to produce this way. And he is doing it. He's doing a fantastic job. I'm very impressed with him. I think Neil Ramirez has been very good. And a guy who just was brought up this week, did a great job, was Nick Whitgren. And I like what I see from him.
He throws strikes. He's been good. I don't disagree. I mean, today when you have to go to the pen so early, and you've had to go to the pen all weekend so early, these guys have been used and overused, and look, they gave you all they could give you over the weekend, in my opinion, and kept them in the game.
Pitchers went 9 innings total.
Yeah, brutal.
And 5 2/3 of that was from cousin Jeffrey from the Parks Department.
Jeffrey Rodriguez. I'm telling you, I think he can be a keeper. All right. By the way, this week, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it'll be Tribe at the Mariners. 2 late games first. 10-10 on Monday is Trevor Bauer against Kikuchi from the Seattle Mariners. If anybody has not seen the Japanese lefty Yusei Kikuchi, you're going to see him tomorrow. So a lefty on Monday. Mike Leake always kills us against Bieber on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, it's 6:40 Eastern, Carlos Carrasco against Eric Swanson, who I've never heard of.
They just brought him up because Wade LeBlanc was DL'd. So this will be his first start of the season.
And then next weekend, Braves, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 7:10, 4:10, and then the Sunday night game. Are you going to that next Sunday night?
Oh, with special guest Patty D, baby.
Okay. Well, that's a loss. She never sees a win.
Four of us are going on Saturday at 4:10, and Sunday night.
Why don't we go out on Saturday?
Yeah, Sunday night, a little school night action. So, yep. Mom will be in the house.
I believe legendary radio engineer Alan Rosenberg will be there for ESPN Radio Saturday and Sunday, but I'll have to double check on that. All right, so we talked about
Clevenger. I want to talk about Clevenger.
Yeah, please do. Let's talk about the loss of Clevenger this week. Boy, that dude had been on fire, and to me, Todd, he's not coming back this year, is he?
You think he's going to miss the entire season?
These injuries, man.
60 days, so he's going to be out until June. My guess is he'll be back after the All-Star break, but that's a long ways away. And the shame of it is the guy was absolutely killing it. I was at both of his first two starts. That we talked about it on the pod. The velocity's up. The command looks great. He was dominating. He came out of that game, after 5 innings, and we just thought, oh, no big deal. He said it after, won't miss a start. And the Indians get a lot of criticism, and rightfully so, about how they handle injuries and how they say, so and so is going to be out for 2 weeks and then he's out for 8. Like it's a notorious move. But I think they took a lot of unfair criticism because Clevenger himself said he didn't expect to miss a start. Then they gave him the MRI the next day, and then it was announced he was going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. There's nothing they can do about that. They sent him in for an MRI. It showed damage, and he's got to be out. And he might have surgery, and they said that it's just one option that they might take, but it might not really matter either way in terms of timetable. But, we're going to have to see what happens with Jeffrey Rodriguez. Plutko, I read today that he's still 2 or 3 weeks away from returning. The next time they're going to need a fifth starter is 10 days from today, which is the 24th. So against the Miami Marlins down in Florida. So that'll be the day that my guess is you'll see Rodriguez again. But it's a real shame that we're going to miss Clevenger. It's now going to be imperative that Shane Bieber continue his great start. He was awesome the other day in Detroit.
Yeah, he was. No, he's been strike thrower and attacking hitters, and he doesn't look like a guy that's really in his first full season in the majors. And look, I think he can handle moving up a slot from the fifth starter to the fourth. You're hoping for a correction from Carrasco. I'll be very interested to see what he does on Wednesday. That's going to be one of those shadows games, Todd, where that's 3:40 in Seattle. So the sun, who knows what the hitters will look at, but he's got to get it going. But yeah, the Clevenger injury sucks because there were some people talking about him having an all-star season the way he was throwing, and that really hurts. But I think this organization, like you mentioned with Plutko, Rodriguez, who knows about Cody Anderson, I think they've got enough depth that they can handle that fifth spot. And again, you hope that the Tribe is right there near the top with the Twins, and once Clevenger comes back, that just makes this rotation that much better. I hate it. I mean, you hate seeing an injury like that, and to me, I think this could be something till August. I really do. If he's not going to pick up a baseball for 2 months, then you got to stretch him out, then you got to check this out, check that out. Right. It could take some time, but it sucks. Oh, for sure. But injuries are part of the game.
And I think that, Bieber's ascension is very important. I'm not worried about Carrasco. I think he'll be fine. The guy I'm obviously worried about is Kluber. I really am because, we talked about it earlier. This is not a couple of bad starts, bad trend. I mean, I think this goes back to last year, the release point situation. His velocity's down. It's very concerning. It really is. And you and I both, we talked about this a ton. I thought the time was right this offseason to trade him for, to get some outfield help and get some, guys who could produce right away. They obviously, it sounds like it was no secret they tried. They just didn't like what the offers were. Maybe there's a reason they didn't like the offers. Maybe the other teams see what the Indians were seeing. So it's definitely a concern. And if you don't have Kluber right, if this is a guy who now all of a sudden goes from walking nobody to walking 4 or 5 guys, we're going to have a real problem winning this division.
No, he's got to be. He doesn't have to be the ace anymore. I think Bauer can be that guy. But you're right. Today, handed a 3-0 lead, and you can't even get out of the third inning or whatever it was. That's unacceptable against the right. I mean, he's going to be facing Atlanta next weekend, and the Braves with Acuna and Ozzie and Freddie Freeman, who's on my 2-0 fantasy team, by the way. Those are some decent sticks that he's going to be facing, and so he's got to get it righted. And look, even if the velocity's down, you got to find a way to use all your pitches. And when he misses right in the middle of the plate. I mean, that meatball he gave up to Duda today. Look, we all know on 3-2 you got to throw a strike, but my gosh, I mean, he didn't fool anybody today. And like you said, it's like 3 of the. I wouldn't say the Twins loss opening day. No, but he's been bombarded twice now. Was it the White Sox that beat him up earlier in the year, and now the Royals? So it sucks. He's got to get him.
Tigers.
Got to get him straightened out.
He beat the Tigers this week, and he looked good. Bauer was the one who had the shakier start. He just, he didn't have his best stuff, but they got to figure out a way to get him right, and I don't know how they're going to do it, but nobody works harder than Kluber. We'll give him that. He's going to work through it. He's going to try to work through it at least, and hopefully he can break out because we're going to need it.
Real fast, with Lindor rehabbing and maybe back, you never know. He's going to want to come back over the weekend. He is, and we'll see how that goes. I'm wondering, as these moves now are going to be made, the Hanley Ramirez question has got to come up because, I've heard from sources, maybe not the best teammate. The body language isn't great. Some of the at-bats have just been gross. But because this organization is devoid of a right-handed bat and let's bring up a classic Indians Twitter old bit, right-handed power bat, maybe he ends up staying longer than we think. But, Mercado got hit in the hand the other night in Columbus. They said no x-rays, thank God. But, at what point do they cut bait on Hanley Ramirez? How much longer are you going to give this guy? Although his at-bat today was fine.
Yeah, he did work that bases loaded walk, which was good. And by the way, he was thrown 5 balls and only 4 were called. So it was. I said, I believe you and I had the conversation on this pod, which was June 1st was the over under, and we both said under. I'll give him. I think because he's a right-handed stick, he's going to stick for a little bit longer. But again, I think by June 1st, if he's not delivering, they don't need – now with Cargo up, it looks to me like regularly you're going to see against right-handed pitching, Naquin is going to – Naquin and Cargo and Bowers are all going to be in there one way or another, which leaves Hanley as the odd man out. And Hanley's basically going to become Jordan Luplow, but DH rather than an outfielder. So he's the next guy to go should something bad, happen. I don't see him. He just doesn't seem like a long-term play.
Right, and here's the thing: if Hanley's only going to play against lefties, he's not going to like that. And if he's not going to like that, and he's going to start pouting, you don't want that in that clubhouse. This is a team that under Tito has always been pretty good in the clubhouse. They've had guys like Rajay Davis and Napoli and Giambi in the past. You don't want a veteran that's a rotten egg in there stinking up the room. And so if he's now going to be turning into a start against lefties only type, then just get rid of him. Just get rid of him. Then there's no reason for him to be around.
Well, right now it comes down to this. Would you rather have Jordan Luplow taking those at-bats, or would you rather have Hanley Ramirez taking those at-bats?
Well, I'd rather have Hanley, but
with option C, which is the unknown.
Maybe they can sign Evan Gattis. Is he still available?
Yes. I don't know why he hasn't been picked up by anybody. He would have been great.
Well, when that happens and the Tribe signs him, I'll take credit for it. All right, so that's all we got, man. Hopefully a turnaround here. You ready to stay up late the next couple of nights?
Oh, you know it. I'm going to do my best to well, it's only 2 nights, Monday and Tuesday. That won't be that hard. I'll hopefully, with the way the Indians' offense is going, these games, other than today, these games have been like 2.5 hours, so I can handle that.
Yeah, it's
it's when they get into the 3.5 hour territory when they start at 10:05 that's suboptimal, as they say.
Do I switch over to the Mariners broadcasts and give Dave Sims another shot? Because he's annoying AF. He really is.
Hard pass.
Yeah, I guess I'll stay with Underwood and not knowing the count.
More importantly, hopefully for the listeners, my microphone works better. I've been getting lots of feedback about how I sound. Half the time I've been on the road and using my AirPods because we've been doing it over a phone connection. But hopefully I sound better with this microphone. And if I don't, so be it. We'll have to figure something else out. I think I sound okay on the AirPods, but nobody sounds as crystal clear as you through the board. That's for sure. But you're a professional.
Yes. That's right. This is a professional operation here in my basement right now.
Professional what is the real question.
By the way, the sump pump update, all good. Knock on wood.
That's good to hear. That's right up there with me looking at bathroom sink vanities today while Tiger was on 16, 17. I had this planned in advance. The kids were both at activities, and this was my time. I figured I'd be home for the end of the Masters, but then they moved up the time, and it screwed me.
Did Tiger Woods win the
text I received, including from our mother, going, "This was one of the great sports moments of all time."
Did Tiger win the Masters? I had no idea.
Yeah,
I'm joking.
Tiger Woods, y'all.
I'm joking. It's a great story. It's exciting. At least he's back. Golf's boring without him. There's no personalities in that sport. Well, Phil Mickelson I like, but. Hey, Jordan. I love the people go, Jordan Spieth's awesome. He's a bore. Give me Tiger.
Tiger's involved.
Exactly.
It gets the casual fan in, just like us.
All right, buddy. Well, we're hopeful. Hopefully, a turnaround here. Boy, the Pistons are down 30 to the Bucks. Ooh wee.
More importantly, let's get this team right. Going to see our friend Edwin Encarnacion.
This God, week. Is he gonna pair it on us this week?
Oh, he wants to in the worst way. He'll bust that parrot out. Shout out to Seattle, two Clevelanders living in Seattle who I know will be at the games this week. Cousin Matt Goodwin and the great Michael the Deezer Dolan.
Oh, the Deezer. This week. Yes. Goodwin, he loves his tribe.
Yes, he does.
Shout out to Lud Cohn. She also loves the tribe. I'm going to be on Ed Cohn's podcast soon. So
you should promote that. It's called the?
I forgot the name.
I think it's called the Downward Facing Spiral Podcast.
We'll promote it very soon. But we're brought to you by Groove Ride and, of course, waitingfornextyear.com. Todd, hopefully a better conversation next weekend.
Yes, hopefully we're just all positive, talking about a win streak and how we beat down the Braves. And we'll have to do a late night or early morning recording since I'll be at the game Sunday night.
We can do a Monday. I think I'm off, so we can make that happen after the Braves series.
I believe is the Tribe off next Monday too? I think they are. No game the 22nd, so we'll record the next one on the 22nd.
All right, buddy.
You are the greatest.
There he is, Todd Dery, Matt Dery. This has been the waitingfornextyear.com edition. Thank you for putting us on your website, guys. Everybody at WFNY, of course, Craig, Scott, and the crew of the Dery Brothers Tribecast. Hopefully a turnaround in Seattle. We'll talk to you again next week.